77 WABC and Bergen Newbridge Medical Center honor the life of legendary broadcaster and our friend, Ernie Anastas.
Hi, it's Ernie Anastas. You know, your thoughts can affect how you feel. Bergen Newbridge Medical Center is the largest hospital in New Jersey, providing comprehensive, equitable, compassionate, and high-quality emergency inpatient and outpatient medical care, plus mental health services and substance use disorder treatment. The Bergen Newbridge team can address your total health needs in one convenient location. Call 201-225-7130 for an appointment or newbridgehealth.org.
Feisty, fearless, and fair. She's an Emmy-winning journalist from the White House to war zones, telling all sides of the story. This is the Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, boy, there is a lot of news happening. And I just want to say off the top, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. There is a, quote, suicide note supposedly left by Jeffrey Epstein to his fellow convict, longtime friend of mine for many years. The New York Times is reporting it. I'm not saying that they don't have a note. What I am saying is, did Jeffrey Epstein really write this? And do we really believe that Jeffrey Epstein did try to kill himself earlier and then was successful when he was found dead in his cell August 10th, 2019? I'm sorry. I'll tell you why I don't buy it. Because Michael Baden, the forensic pathologist, longtime friend of mine for many years, one of the best in the business, says he doesn't buy it. He was the former medical examiner of New York, and he also worked for the Epstein family. Also, the brother of Jeffrey Epstein said, this is the first I've heard of this. So it sounds like people close to Jeffrey Epstein, including his former attorney, who said before he found him dead, he was in great spirits. So I have a little hard time believing a convict says, oh, yeah, this is a suicide note, and that he sometimes has the solution to all of this. But we're going to get to it in a little bit because there are a lot of big details on this. Do you buy it? Do you think it was a suicide? And why was it withheld all this time? It was given through a Freedom of Information Act, but you tell me it took 7 years? There's something else. Something stinks. Something smells. I'm half Danish, so I hate to say this, but there's something rotten in Denmark with this one. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Meantime, everybody is talking about these horrible, disgusting protests that got out of hand, that were not peaceful, sweet First Amendment protests that took place outside the Park East Synagogue in New York City last night. It's the second time in just a few months that same synagogue, which is run by a historic Holocaust survivor, Rabbi Arthur Schneier. I mean, he's a legend. And the fact that these people are coming there and shouting these horrible, vile things at police, shouting horrible, vile things about Israel, saying it shouldn't exist, it's disgusting. And here's a little bit of the sights and sounds from last night. Does this sound like a nice little group of Mother Teresas? Well, you can imagine what they were saying in the bleeps. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. This is not First Amendment. This is not like a nice, sweet group of protesters. These people were violent. They were shoving cops. There's also a buffer zone. They were trying to break through the barricades. They were pushing things. This is not peaceful protest. This is disgusting. And I also believe that a lot of the attitude of New York City leaders, and we're going to get to that in a moment, is also inciting them, inspiring them, at least giving them a free pass, and that's not good. And speaking of someone who got a free pass when he was president, President Barack Obama, the former president, came out a little bit ago, and this is a doozy. I couldn't wait to share this with all of you guys, because he is now saying, and don't laugh too loud because I laughed when I heard this, that attorneys general, that essentially the folks at DOJ, especially the head AG, and you think about some that have been extremely political, like Merrick Garland and all these others. Well, Obama was talking about the Republican Party. He was not talking about his own party. He was talking about the Republican Party. And he said, you know, it's really bad that the Attorney General and the Justice Department have become so politicized under President Trump, essentially. How terrible this is. Does he have amnesia? Listen to this.
2 in 1 day. It was wonderful. I go out and make a speech. Then I say, all right, let's go home. Sir, you're making another speech.
The White House shouldn't be able to direct the Attorney General to go around prosecuting whoever the president wants prosecuted.
Right, because technically it's under the executive branch.
Technically,
the norm is that it's independent.
The idea is that the Attorney General is the people's lawyer. It's not the president's consigliere.
Right, even when it's Bobby Kennedy.
It's Bobby Kennedy. And so two of the core principles of a democracy. We can survive a lot. Bad policy, funky elections. There's a bunch of stuff that, you know, we can overcome. We can't overcome the politicization of the criminal justice system, the awesome power of the state. You can't have a situation in which whoever's in charge of the government starts using that to go after their political enemies.
So I missed the back half where he said, and that's exactly what me and Joe Biden did. And I deeply apologized. Somehow it wasn't in the clip. Somehow he left that part out. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Well, another thing that Barack Obama did do, and here we go, he was asked, who do you think is the face of the Democratic Party? Where do you see it going? Who do you think really are the future leaders? You guessed it. He was praising the mayor of New York. Take a listen.
You look at somebody like Mondami, who I think is an extraordinary talent. He wants people to be able to afford housing in New York. Well, you know, I would assume liberals in New York want the same thing.
And then he said he is a big talent. That's the phrase of him. He's an extraordinary talent. He's a guy who can relate to everybody, except to maybe the Jewish individuals at inside Park East Synagogue. Well, Mondani was asked about that, asked about the protest last night. I played for you guys the sounds of that protest. It was anything but a nice, sweet, peaceful protest. They were shouting, Israel doesn't have a right to exist. Long live Palestinians, praising what happened by Hamas. I'm sorry. There's nothing nice about any of this. It's horrific and it's frightening. And they got close to the doors, and that's what's really scary. What would have happened if they got inside? That's the big question. What would have happened if they got inside that synagogue where there were individuals that were inside praying? And what if it was a mosque? Don't you think he'd be pounding his fist tonight? I would be. Don't like it outside any religious institution, whether it was a mosque or a church or a synagogue. There is no place for violent protesters with vile, horrific, disgusting language. And so Zohran Mamdani, the mayor of New York, was asked about this protest. And listen to what he had to say.
Can you assess how you think things went last night at the Park East Synagogue protest? Do you think the police effectively enforced a buffer zone? Is that what essentially happened? And was the right to protest sufficiently protected in your view? And then I have one more question.
Yes, I think that I've made it clear time and time again that we in this city believe in the sacrosanct nature of the right to protest, and also are committed to ensuring that any New Yorker can safely enter or exit from a house of worship, and that access never be in question, while we also protect the First Amendment. And I do believe that the police ensured that yesterday.
Did you hear that answer? Sorry, it's a little hard to hear because it's obviously sort of off camera and they caught him at an event. But he essentially said that the right to free speech, the right to protest. I didn't hear too much about sympathy about the people inside the synagogue. He seemed much more concerned about the rights of the protesters, that there's a right to protest and that's sacrosanct, and that right was upheld last night. What about the parishioners? What about those inside the synagogue? And I don't care that there's a buffer zone. If you break through the buffer zone, what good is the buffer zone? And if they're shouting vile, horrific things and you hear them and they're just across the street, even before they broke through the buffer zone, how does that make you feel when you want to go back to that synagogue again? It's horrible. So here's a little bit more, because he was asked, does his anti-Israel rhetoric somehow maybe play into this? And what's his reaction to that? Is he having second thoughts? Could it contribute to this environment of these people feeling emboldened? And listen to what he had to say.
And as you talk about ways to prevent anti-Semitism, I noticed yesterday that when you put out a statement about the protest, in advance of the protest, you noted that you agreed with the protesters. You've weighed in on the subject of Israel in a couple of other ways and recent ways. And I just wonder whether, are you considering whether you personally putting your views about Israel out there is in any way fueling anti-Semitism in the city? Do you ever think maybe you should just not weigh in or just not bring it up?
I think that critique of the policies of a government are very much separate from bigotry towards people of a specific religious faith. And there is no tolerance for anti-Semitism. There is no tolerance for hatred of Jewish New Yorkers, which we have seen time and time again, whether it be in the graffiti of swastikas on a number of homes across Queens recently. And I've also been clear to New Yorkers my honest opinions about the fact that when we have a real estate expo that is promoting the sale of land, which includes the sale of land in occupied West Bank in settlements that are a violation of international law, that is something that I firmly disagree with, and that I also believe that many New Yorkers firmly disagree with, because it has been at the heart of an ongoing effort to displace Palestinians from their homes.
So the question was, does your vitriol add to this, essentially? And what do you think? And his answer was, well, they shouldn't have an event like this about the sale of land. And my criticism about the government is separate than religion, but they shouldn't have an event like this inside a synagogue. How does that smooth relations? And how does that condemn also the activities of these protesters? He seemed to think everything was perfectly okay. If you look at the video and you heard it, they're shouting NYPD KKK. Does that sound like a bunch of nice, peaceful protesters? He's okay with that? And is he okay with them storming through the barricades and pushing and shoving and, saying the most horrific, vile, vitriolic, physical things to law enforcement and to Jewish New Yorkers? Is he okay with that? He seems to think he is okay. I mean, his answer did nothing to appease and make anybody feel like he's going to crack down on this. In other words, he doesn't think what happened last night was anything other than a nice, happy, I guess, lovely, sweet protest with a bunch of people like Mother Teresa. I'm sorry, that ain't the case. We're going to take your calls when we come back here on The Rita Cosby Show, 1-800-848-9222, and we'll be right back.
The Rita Cosby Show. It's the Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, some good news about our beloved Rudy Giuliani, America's mayor. He is out of ICU. He is going to be spending some time recovering before leaving the hospital there in Florida. But at least he is out of ICU, and that is a great sign because it was certainly touch and go for a while with Rudy Giuliani. He was on the ventilator, remember, and they took him off the breathing apparatus. He was doing better. He is said to be cracking jokes and talking, but still, obviously, they are monitoring him. And again, great news. Our friend, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, is now out of ICU, but he will be spending some time recuperating before he leaves the hospital. They are keeping a close eye on him. And, of course, America and all of us are praying for him. We love you, Rudy, and hope that you get out of the hospital and get back to feeling your great self very, very soon. And we're looking forward to it. Boy, is he a fighter, and boy, has he done so much for New York City and for America. Let's go to your calls, guys. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go, if we could. Let's go to Leon in Suffern, New York, line 5. Go ahead, Leon.
Hi, Rita. I'm sure that you, as well as most Americans, witnessed the tape of the would-be assassin of President Trump and the other people in his cabinet and many others.
Yep, you're talking about at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, right, Leon?
Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely. And there were deficiencies by the Secret Service, which you yourself have said. But what's particularly appalling is this judge, this Zia Faruqi, apologizing to this would-be assassin with the ostensible saying, hey, well, you know, he was a Bible-reading person, and he had no previous record. I don't like the terms of or conditions of his incarceration. It is appalling.
It is appalling. And Leon, you know why he did that? He first of all, I agree with you. What the heck was he doing to apologize to this guy? And then he said, there have been people who've had, worse crimes than you that have been in better conditions. I'm sorry, I don't really know of too many worse crimes than someone who's about to open fire on a White House Correspondents' Dinner. I've been in that room. I've been at that event many times. It's packed. It's like 2,500 people. And he plans to kill the President of the United States and his cabinet and the entire room. I'd consider that one of the worst crimes ever. And guess what? I don't feel sorry for him in solitary. That's the other thing. And now apparently not only do they want to give him a Bible, and he should have prayed instead of trying to open fire on a room, but they're also talking about giving him vegan food. I'm sorry. I have no sympathy for this guy, Leon. And you're right. The judge is appalling. That judge, and if you look at the history of that judge has kind of given others a free pass before. Are you seeing a revolving door, Leon?
Absolutely. And I think he's committed to that. Look, I'm not against anybody, but he is the first Muslim or perhaps several Muslim judges in that position. I mean, you have to start thinking about this, in the overall picture of what's going on in the world today.
No, that's a great point. And listen, there are a lot of soft on crime judges, and it just shows how important all these layers of the judicial system is. That judge is a disgrace. That's all I've got to say, Leon.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Malden, Massachusetts, where a police officer is being revered as a hero after he helped revive a teenager who collapsed on a football field while in attendance at his daughter's track meet. A 15-year-old collapsed and suddenly became unconscious. So Officer George Lopez went from father to on-duty officer literally within seconds. Beside him was an athletic trainer who also works for Mass General Brigham Hospital. So the two of them started compressions. They shocked the young man with a defibrillator. And the officer says the second he got over there, he was not breathing. And he said, you just kick into your training. Thanks to his quick thinking, the teen was revived and is said to make a full recovery. He also hopes the officer to be reunited with the teenager soon. He said, it hits close to home because he's a 15-year-old boy. My daughter's a 15-year-old girl. And all I wanted to do was save his life. And I was glad that I was able to do that. Wow. Bravo to our great men and women in blue. Well, as we are talking tonight, boy, there is so much hypocrisy going around. And AOC is the leader of it all. She is in the middle of everything. I want to play this clip first off. This is Tom Homan because he really started it all. And Tom Homan came out and said, look, I may start flooding some cities again. Of course, he is the big border czar. And you know the history of Tom Homan. He's a no-nonsense guy. And he's been on the show. We love Tom Homan. Tom Homan came out and said, you know what, New York City, well, it may get flooded with lots of agents soon. Don't rest on your laurels, Zoran Mandani, because ICE may be coming in before you know it. And then here is Tom Homan talking about other sanctuary cities. Take a listen.
Mr. Homan, should the American public expect similar operations to what we saw in Minneapolis and Chicago, large-scale, aggressive immigration crackdowns?
Use the term aggressive. I don't agree with that. I think...
Well, in Minneapolis, we saw controversial arrests. We saw 2 fatal shootings of U.S. citizens.
What I'm telling you is they're going to see mass operations, especially in sanctuary cities. You know, we're going to force it. And people say mass deportation. What a cruel thing to say. What a racist thing to say, mass deportation. Let's remember why we're here. 4 years of an open border. Over 10 million illegal aliens that we know of came to the border. Millions were released in this country, illegally, in my opinion, against established, immigration law. 4 years of historic, never seen before numbers. We had a historic illegal immigration crisis for 4 years. So what's required now? An historic mass deportation to deal with these people enter this country illegally, many released in this country illegally, many who have no case in this country to be here.
So does that sound like a guy who's backing down? No way, no how. So Tom Homan said, yeah, we may flood New York City in particular. And AOC, of course, said, no. I think she's the president of the United States. Take a listen.
New York City already has sanctuary laws on the books that say if someone commits a crime, they have to go through our system. And if ICE wants to go in, they have to do so using their own resources. And the law doesn't change if you threaten it. The law doesn't change if you stomp your feet about it. We all have to respect it.
So Tom Homan, I guess in her mind, is the lawbreaker, and those evading authorities, they're the ones that have the right to be continuing doing that, especially those with past criminal histories. I guess they're okay, according to AOC. Well, joining us now to talk about this and so much more is Seth Baron. He is a great reporter there with the New York Post. He also has a brand new book. It is called Weaponize: The Left's Capture and Destruction of America's Sacred Institutions. Seth, it's great to have you here on the Rita Cosby Show. And first of all, what did you make of AOC? This is sort of classic Democratic strategy, right?
Oh, well, first of all, let me thank you for having me on, Rita. It's a pleasure. AOC is a clown. She has been for years. If you may remember when she was standing outside like a parking lot pretending to cry, putting her hands behind her back, pretending she's handcuffed, pretending she's a congresswoman. No, I'm just kidding. She is a congresswoman, but it's unfortunate. Listen, they can talk about, they like to pretend that whenever a Democrat's in the White House, the federal government is all powerful and everybody has to listen to it. When a Republican's in the White House, they all revert to, we are New Yorkers and New York says this and New York and California says that. Look, being a sanctuary state doesn't mean anything. They think that they can tell the feds what to do. Oh, you can't wear a mask. You can't enter here. You can't enter there. We'll keep you out of parks. It's absurd. And Tom Homan, God bless him. I'd love to hear him talk.
Yeah, me too. You know, your book sort of talks about this weaponization of institutions. And I think I can't even imagine what's going on in your mind today, Seth, because Obama came out. I don't know if you heard this, and he came out and he was saying, we cannot overcome DOJ's politicization and what the attorney general had done, like insinuating he's talking about Trump. He's not talking about Biden and Obama. It's complete gaslighting, which is, I know, something you write about.
Oh, it absolutely is. And talk about weaponization. I mean, in my book, I talk about the use, how Obama used they basically twisted the Fair Housing Act to go after suburbs and sue all these different bedroom communities to force them to have, quote, affordable housing, which really, you and me, we know that means subsidized housing. They call it affordable housing. And trying to regionalize these urban, suburban areas to force the suburbs to take on the burden, the dependency burden of the cities. He sued the hell out of different suburbs. So, and that's just the beginning. This guy is the king of weaponization.
How about also Ken Griffin and what's happening in New York? Because Mamdani seems to be driving people out faster than a Porsche.
Well, Mamdani, I mean, he's in the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. Okay, he won election. He won a Democrat won a Democrat primary. Wow, big deal. Okay, so he's the mayor. He imagines, and they all imagine, that they are like 2 minutes from achieving total domination of the country. And he gets ahead of himself. He films this cute video. That's all he does is film cute videos, tapping on the camera and saying, we're going to tax the rich. I'm standing outside this guy's house. I mean, you know what? Like, there was a CEO murdered pretty close to Ken Griffin's house. And Mamdani's standing there essentially saying, hey, here's where you can come. Come hang out outside. It was a really sick thing to do. And you know what? Good for Ken Griffin. Mamdani, they think that they can run the state on public servants, home health aides, and just people who sit in a cafe and play on their laptop. He's going to find out that the productive people who are leaving in droves, they're the ones who are funding the whole massive $250 billion state budget. So I think he's going to be in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, what about public safety? It's shocking. That has really become politicized. Don't you feel like, and how sad is that? That police, I feel like, have been used as pawns. I mean, you see the whole defund the police movement, Seth.
Absolutely. Well, I talk about public safety in my book. And what I find interesting is, as part of the defund the police movement, what they've done is they've captured the term public safety and they go around redefining it constantly. So they talk about real public safety is healthcare. Real public safety starts with fully funded schools. Real public safety means, no food deserts or whatever. So, I mean, that's a minor point, but yes, they twist the meaning of words in order to further basically it's a communist agenda. I would say regarding policing, it's funny. Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, when he came into office, they had something called Accountability Mondays, when they would get together and talk about the weekend's murder harvest. And he said, we're canceling Accountability Mondays because nobody's accountable. You can't hold me. You can't blame me. You can't blame my office. Murders are the result of deep-rooted social causes, and we have to get to the root of all the social causes before we can start assigning blame for murders. So, I mean, this is the kind of approach that we see them take. It's just constant deflection, constant, finger pointing, and then demanding more and more and more money to flood the social service complex, to flood the NGO complex, to flood the teachers' unions, and basically drive. It's funny. The old mayor of Chicago, Jane Byrne, they once asked her, "Aren't you worried about white flight?" And she said, "There's not that much white to flee. Like they'd already left."
Wow.
This is isn't that funny? That was 45 years ago. So this is really the project for some reason to destroy the cities. And then,
by the way, like you said, they seem intent on it. That's the thing. Like you said, Seth, it's sort of like a mission. Before I let you go to these protests that are taking place all over the country, we saw some of them at Park East Synagogue last night. They got completely out of control. We've seen a lot of really crazy ones on college campuses. And it seems like the teachers union, and it seems like even even, a lot of groups across this country are organized. Also, I believe maybe some foreign funds too. But they're actual groups that seem to want to undermine America in some ways.
Absolutely. And the people at Park East Synagogue, they were fighting with the police. And they were saying, well, we just want freedom to protest. Well, what would have happened if they'd broken through the line? Were they going to go beat up people at the synagogue or wreck it? Yes, a lot of them are paid. A lot of them are connected to larger organizations, and they're absolutely committed to causing chaos. They've accepted this idea that Palestine is at the center of everything. Palestine is the reason why why the police are so mean to them. They think that this is I talk about this in the book. It's a long story dating back to the 60s, but they see themselves as essentially the inheritors of Che Guevara and Patrice Lumumba and Marighella in Brazil. So this is a long story of the third worldization of the left and their infatuation and identification with Palestine. And so they think that they're revolutionaries. That's basically it.
Yeah, you're right.
You're
right. Right. But, you're right. They're romanticizing some very concerning. It's like when they're out there. How about in Times Square? It was gays for Gaza. I'm thinking, are you kidding me? First of all. And this was right after 9/11. I mean, first of all, what happens in Gaza to gays. And second of all, they're sitting there cheering for Hamas. It's shocking. And it's just so disheartening. Seth, really terrific to have you on. I want to tell everybody again, the book is called Weaponize, The Left's Capture and the Destruction of America's Sacred Institutions. Seth Baron from the New York Post. You got to come back on again. Seth, you're terrific. Thank you.
I'd love to, Rita. Thank you.
Thank you. Such an important topic. And congrats on the book, a very timely and important one. Thank you very, very much. And we were just talking with Seth about what happened at Park East Synagogue. Well, earlier today on Katz and Cosby, John and I talked with Karen Schneier. She is the daughter of Rabbi Schneier, a Holocaust survivor, who is, of course, the main rabbi, the rabbi who founded Park East and the whole history there. And she said, this is not First Amendment. As you just heard from Seth, they were breaking through the barricades. Take a listen to what Karen told us.
Well, take off the mask. Let's see who those people are. Let's see who the people are, John. And, look at the First Amendment, right, of our blessed country. In the First Amendment, we treat religious liberties and the ability to have freedom of speech equally. But freedom of speech does not equal freedom of hate speech. It does not equal the freedom to intimidate people of faith from visiting, from congregating, from learning or worshiping in their house of worship in the United States. That's not what freedom of speech means.
Bravo to her. And take off your mask. That's a great point. These kids or adults who were protesting, same thing on college campuses. Take off your mask. And when some of them had their masks taken off or they were identified as the ones who were arrested because they were doing things that deserved to be arrested for, they were upset when some people came out and said they shouldn't be hired again, saying, oh, that wasn't fair. They were just exercising First Amendment speech. That's what they were saying while they were shouting, long live Hamas and death to Israel in front of Jewish students. How about the ones barricading themselves up in Hamilton Hall on Columbia University? Let's go to Sal in New Jersey, line 2. Go ahead, Sal, your thoughts tonight.
Hello, Rita. Rita, we have to stop this anti-Semitism right now because after they go after the Jews, they're going to go after the Christians. They're going to go after everyone else, and we're going to see pogroms all over New York City, and then it's going to spread all over the country.
Well, it's how good people need to stick together, just like you said. It's right versus wrong, and you heard what I said. If it was in front of a mosque and there was some group saying, we hate Muslims, and there were peaceful individuals inside, guess what? I would be upset about that too. So we need to protect religion, and we need to have all religions feel safe. And for some reason, these protesters feel emboldened. And Mandani is doing nothing to kind of calm the flames. He seems to be doubling down on his comments saying, me, I'm not anti-Semitic. I just don't think we should be doing business with Israel. I don't think this. I don't think that. He doesn't understand that also, I believe, gives a lot of these people cover. They feel emboldened. And that's not a good thing either. That's a very dangerous place to be. And everybody needs to feel safe. And those people inside Park East Synagogue, he seemed more concerned about the people outside than the people inside. That's my opinion. 1-800-848-9222. And everybody will continue with your calls after the break here on The Rita Cosby Show.
It's The Rita Cosby Show. This is The Rita Cosby Show.
ICE has just arrested a Honduran man who's accused of a horrible rape in New York after he had illegally entered multiple times into the United States. ICE finally locating this man, Jose Ignacio Bonilla Garcia. He's an illegal immigrant from Honduras, and he beat somebody unconscious, raped them behind a dumpster. He illegally entered the U.S. 4 times and his 3 previous deportations. ICE has now located this individual. So that is the good news, that they're ensuring that this monster can never prey on another innocent victim. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Jay in New Jersey. Go ahead, Jay. Your thoughts tonight.
Yeah. Hey, Rita. When we talk about the Democrats being anti-Israel and and pro-Palestine, I just want to point out that the point that they're their beliefs aren't really truly beliefs that are pro-Palestine or even, anything for that matter, because all they're trying to do is push people in a angry direction, and they want people to be angry about anything. And when we realize that,
you're off the speaker there. You're off the get back on. Jay?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah,
sorry.
So Jay, you feel like they don't care, that they're just out there angry, just want to rile up a crowd, whatever the reason is. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that they're trying to keep their demented base angry, and they do that through whatever means possible. And I remember, just to give you an example, at the DNC in Chicago this past time around, there was a whole crowd of Democrats, and they were chanting that abortion will bring peace in Palestine. And to somebody watching, that will make no sense. But when you realize that really their beliefs don't really matter, it doesn't mean much. All it is a way for Democrats to keep hold of an angry base. All the beliefs all mingle as one. And
by the way, Jay, that's a very good point. Because you're right. They just they're like protesters of the day. And a lot of them kind of go from one protest to another. And you see a lot of these pre-produced signs. So that's a whole other thing, too, like who's funding them. It's like protest du jour. And you see, like you just said, some, the abortion in Gaza or the gays for Gaza. If you were gay and you went to Gaza, you'd last about 5 seconds. So, you're right. It doesn't make any sense. They don't know what they're saying.
Sacco and Felix, New York and New Jersey's premier attorneys at law. Their team brings decades of experience across a wide range of practice areas. Whatever life brings, they're your legal team. From everyday matters to complex cases, they've got you covered with the experience you need and the results you want. Because when life gets complicated, they make it simple. SaccoFilas.com. SACCOFILLAS.com. 2 C's, 2 L's.
Looking for the best place to shop this Mother's Day? Go with the brand that makes it easy to send something thoughtful to everyone on your list. 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now at 1-800-Flowers, order 1 dozen roses and get another dozen free. More flowers mean more smiles, all backed by the quality, attention to detail, and trusted delivery experience that make 1-800-Flowers my top choice to send something beautiful Mom will love. Make Mom's Day at 1-800-Flowers.com/Spotify. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Spotify.